Welcome to the Evalesco Healthy, Wealthy and Happy podcast. The information provided on and made available through this video and podcast does not constitute as financial product advice. The information is of general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation or needs. It should not be used, relied upon or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice. We recommend that you obtain your own independent professional advice before making any decisions in relation to your particular requirements or circumstances.
Welcome to the Evalesco Healthy, Wealthy and Happy podcast. Today we're talking about secrets to retirement success, and I'm very pleased to be joined by Evalesco advisors Melody Edwards and Virginia Schreiber. Welcome back, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So we're going to cover off 5 key points that we've seen through the hundreds of people that we've helped with their retirement planning and retirement success. The first one being redefining identity beyond work. We'll also talk about the importance of social connections. We'll talk about physical health, financial freedom and peace of mind, which you might think is the number one for us, but there's a lot more that goes into it. And finish off with talking about creating a legacy. So they're just some of the key secrets, and there are many more, but we find these as 5 key areas that we think are really valuable to consider to start off with. So Mel, I'm going to throw to you first. We're going to talk about redefining identity beyond work, which is a really important concept when people think about retiring.
Yeah, so if you think about it, people do spend a majority of their life working in a career or several careers, depending on which generation you are. But typically, you spend 40 hours working full time in a job, and that is intrinsically linked to your identity. So retirement, where that doesn't become the anchor for your day-to-day activities, is a little bit scary. So thinking about your who you are outside of that, people don't necessarily take the time to think about that aspect of their identity. So when you're looking at retiring or making work optional, that really is a one important area to focus on, to really feel like you're taking some control and having a direction in where you're heading in retirement.
Yeah, I've heard it talked about in the concept of a lot of people know what they're retiring from, but don't necessarily know what they're retiring to. Yep. And that's a really important concept, because you've been a long time in your career, but hopefully you'll be a long time in retirement as well. So having something to look forward to and work towards is really valuable as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we often also look at what are some of your key goals or things that you would like to do during retirement. So what are some of your main hobbies or big travel plans that you haven't had to do yet? So we look at that as well.
And I think it's also good to start building those things in pre-retirement as well, because often the intention is there, but it's like, when I have more time, I'll do this, or when I, don't have to work and think about work, then I'll dedicate my time to that. But often, that doesn't really eventuate unless you consciously build that already into your routine when you're still working, and evolve from there, rather than trying to do it, stop work cold turkey and jump into, the next new thing.
Yeah, it was interesting you mentioned the concept of making work optional as well, which is something that we've talked about on previous podcasts, but something we talk about more and more with clients. It's not necessarily like retiring cold turkey is not as much of a standard sort of process these days, and that's where people can almost transition to retirement by either cutting back to 4 days a week or 3 days a week, or tweaking what they're doing from a work viewpoint, which maybe gives them an opportunity to try some of those hobbies, or to find out how many days a week they can actually play golf, as opposed to what they might have otherwise thought.
Yep, that's right.
So I think that's a really good place to start, is thinking about what you're going to do when you move into retirement, and that identity piece around work is really important. I think connected to that is the second point, which I'll throw to you, Virginia, is about the importance of social connections. Often when you've been working 40 hours a week, the social connections are primarily built around the people you sit next to at work, or catch the train with, or whatever it may be. What are some of the other crucial connections to think about there?
Yeah, I think it's important to stay active and go outside in the community, and we've got a few clients, and what some of them look to do is we've got someone who helps with IT support in retirement villages, or someone who does gardening projects for the community, so giving back to community as well. I think that's really rewarding. and then maybe being on the phones for lifelines. So these are some of the things that we've seen that some of our clients do. So I think it's really important finding something else that you're passionate about and that you want to help people with, which helps you stay connected with others as well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think one of the things people forget is that it takes work to build our relationships and community as well. And when we're caught up in the day-to-day of work, you naturally just form whatever's easiest in your closest connections. But to me, being mindful and conscious of where is it that you want to find your tribe and find your village and work towards building connections in those areas. I think that definitely fills the bucket in the social space.
Yeah, I think we're all social beings ultimately, aren't we? Some more introverted or extroverted than others, but ultimately, connections and social connections have been found to be very valuable for mental health and resilience and long-term success in retirement. I kind of think about it on a personal viewpoint. My parents' experience was a really interesting one where they retired down to the south coast after living in Sydney for many years, and going to a small coastal town where everybody's kind of come from somewhere else. It was quite easy for them to make those social connections because everybody's been the new person at some stage, so they get used to it. But they also did a great job of putting themselves out there and getting involved, which is can be hard for some people. But if you reflect on people who may be used to living in the suburbs, commuting into the city, they've got their tribe in the city around work, but then have you still got connections in the suburb you're living in? So if you're spending all your days in that suburb now, maybe you don't know as many people as you used to. So how do you then find ways? And that's where sometimes your hobbies and interests can cross over into the way of building some of those connections as well. So I think that's something that I'm some ways away from pulling the trigger on retirement, but something that I'll have to reflect on is what are those connections in the local area now, which are previously built around kids at school or those types of activities, which might not be there in the time that I'm coming to retire.
I also think as well, feeding into that is where you want to retire, because often that will help sort of mould what social networks and connections you will have, because where people are currently working doesn't necessarily translate to where they want to spend their retirement years. So thinking about that and having that knowing that how your connections are going to be built once you do make that change, whether it's in the transition to retirement or actually in retirement, will be really important to make sure you maintain that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, good point. So the third point we had was physical health. So obviously something front of mind for most people. Most people know that physical health is really important. I think it's about, when you're entering retirement, it's about, again, thinking what you can do at that stage of your life, how it can be supported by some of the other things like connections and getting to know people and pursuing hobbies, which are can cross over a few of those different areas. It's fantastic these days to see so many more people as they're entering those ages, looking at gym classes, looking at walking groups, looking at running groups, cycling, all those types of things. But I think it's important, to Mel's point earlier, start doing some of that stuff beforehand and trying it and seeing whether you like it and whether you can commit to it longer term. But it can be as simple and or as complicated as just getting out, staying active, keep moving, and getting some sunshine and some fresh air is what you need to focus on in there.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of those community groups where you've got walking groups or running groups, and I think if you join those, you also meet new people in the community that you maybe haven't met before, so that helps again build those connections throughout retirement, people that you can spend time with.
And definitely from a habit forming basis as well, because with work you have that routine of this is my day, this is the schedule, you have a structure to it. When you have seemingly unlimited free time in retirement, and you don't have a structured schedule, it's easy to let things that aren't as fun to do, I say, in terms of exercise, fall off. So making that a priority and a habit, I think forming that will help keep a bit of structure in retirement and give you a goal and things to work towards and to maintain.
Yeah, for sure. I think connected with that as well is the other part of physical health is eating well. So again, when you've got that habit of coming to work and either bringing your lunch to work or having, you know, healthy options available to you for lunch, you know, when you're at home, maybe more temptation to snack or, you know, that sort of thing. So I think balancing that healthy eating as well. Maybe you've got more time to cook, so you could, you know, make that one of your new hobbies.
A new hobby.
Yeah, embrace that. That might work for some people, which is another part of that physical health as well. So the fourth dot point is one that, you know, we have dedicated a previous podcast to, and probably you would think would be many future podcasts for us, being financial freedom and peace of mind. Obviously, really, really important for retirement success. And something that we do spend a lot of our time and energy on, connected to the other points, because we do talk about healthy, wealthy and happy. So this is really the wealthy one, Virginia, and yeah, where would you start in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, and what we see often is that clients are really concerned, am I going to run out of money? What does this transition look like for me? Everyone is used to, I just get my salary paid into, life goes on, and now I've got this money in my super or my savings, and what am I going to do with it? How long will it last me? So what we do there is we look at retirement modelling, so really detailed modelling to show you how long your funds will last you based on how much you want to draw out. If you've got the opportunity to increase your spending, and we can also have a look at, okay, this is your bucket list holiday, how does that fit into the plan? So things like that can really help you understand how much money do you have and how long will it last you, and that gives you the peace of mind that you can just not worry about that and go about enjoying your retirement.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it is a very big mind shift.
Yeah.
And I think people sometimes underestimate how big a difference it is when you're moving from, you know, in financial terms, you know, accumulation to decumulation phase. It seems pretty simple, just flick that switch, but it is a big mind shift to understanding this is a pot of money which has got to last you.
Yeah.
But in most cases, you know, manage wisely, you know, spending money mindfully. It can be done and it is achievable, but it takes a little bit of work sometimes just to get your head around that. And to your point, having some modelling, having a plan can be really valuable, knowing that the plan will probably change over a 10-year period. But
yeah, it does, but it gives us something to check in again with clients. If a year has planned out really differently to what you originally thought, we can see, does that throw you off or how does it fit, and if there's any changes we need to make in future.
And I think as well, a lot of people, you know, the stats show that a lot of people only take the minimum pension payments from their super, not really realising, you know, partly driven by fear of running out, but also not realising that you can adjust, you know, according to your needs, and whether that is a reasonable amount. And so as a consequence, a lot of people are not really drawing down significantly on their super enough, and then end up passing on to their kids. And as a byproduct of that, maybe missing out on the lifestyle that they actually wanted to enjoy in retirement. So, you know, for that fear of running out. So that's a missed opportunity, I think, to actually kind of address that early on in retirement, have the confidence to live the lifestyle that you aspire to live, and be comfortable knowing that you will have enough for as long as you need it.
I think it's really important for clients to understand that they've worked really hard for this money and they're now allowed to enjoy that as well and spend it. You don't have to save it and give it all to your children.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a homeowner, which a lot of Australians are, that's an asset that will definitely pass down to kids. So, you know, the others are, you know, there for your enjoyment to make the most of.
Yeah, and the government is encouraging that, aren't they, by imposing minimum spending from pensions account. They want you to spend the money. The purpose of superannuation is to support retirement. So that's what it's supposed to be there for. I think we're fortunate, the clients that we deal with, majority of them, we are talking to them more about you can spend more money and you can enjoy yourself. And it is a balancing act, but I think if you have a plan and you get confidence around those numbers, it can help you to really enjoy your retirement a lot more. That might not otherwise be the case. I mean, that connects well, Mel, what you were just saying there with our final point, number 5, which is about creating a legacy. So you referenced there, you know, leaving a house to somebody, if you live in Sydney particularly, is going to be a pretty decent asset to leave to somebody. What else goes into your thinking around that?
So I think because everyone's living a lot longer nowadays with advances in medicine and science, there is desire for a lot of people to actually gift a bit of an early inheritance to kind of bring forward that and be able to help their kids while they're, you know, around to see them, you know, be successful. And being able to model, you know, coming back to that modeling, show, okay, well, if I gift this now, what does it mean for my retirement, and balancing that out so you can make a conscious and mindful choice around how you know, pass on your legacy to your kids or whoever it is that you want to leave your wealth to. And I think as well, you know, factoring that early inheritance in will give that aspect of, you know, that social connection and that other, you know, potentially more aspirational goals around, you know, what's my impact on the world around me, that people tend to move towards as, you know, they've ticked off a lot of the bucket list and kicked a lot of the goals through their lifetime. Those aspirational legacy goals will, you know, you can actually be alive to meet them, which is, you know, really pretty significant, and something that, you know, that I think people will value. From a, you know, endpoint, like Jeff said, property being a big asset, valuable asset in Sydney especially, that definitely will be significant wealth passed on to the next generation. So important, you know, making sure that you kind of think about what is it that I want to happen to my assets if something were to happen to me. Who do I want looked after? You know, making sure that they receive those funds in the right way, and have that conversation as well with them, as well as you know, with us, to make sure your plan is enacted as you wish.
Yeah. I mean, we're having those conversations more and more at the moment, making sure obviously that you're okay first. That's always what we prioritise. But then it's so beneficial for you to be able to see maybe how you can help your kids beforehand and how far your money goes in that term as well. So it's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an exciting part of retirement success is, you know, like you said, getting to be able to execute on you know, things that you had as long-held dreams whilst you're in retirement. And you know, if you can't, then planning for that, you know, once you go and your retirement is finished, then how do you leave that in the right shape for those who come after you, which is good. So that's the 5 key points that we identified as really important to secrets to retirement success. If you have further questions or you would like to discuss it in more detail, please contact your advisor or one of these experts sitting alongside me here, and we'd love to have a chat with you. But thank you, Mel, thank you, Virginia, for sharing your insights. Really appreciate it. Some really good learnings out of that. Hopefully you enjoyed it at home, and in the meantime, have a healthy, wealthy and happy day.